We are here in the wonderful studio of Sven Peeks, my sound engineer for more than 2 decades now. And we are somewhere in Franconia in a secret location. So when the wonderful guys at GGD approached me to do this thing, I thought when we want to capture my sound and do this, we have to do it here. It's the perfect place where then really every detail is like I know it, like I love it, and so I'm very happy that we did it here.
Okay, I'm Sven Peeks, and we are here in the Audio Lodge studio in the middle of nowhere in Bavaria, and it's an old barn. It looks old and it's still more a barn than a studio, I'd say. It's pretty funny because it was exactly Benny and his old band who got me into this place.
I think I met Sven when I studied music around here. It must have been around 18, something like that, and I had this band back then where the bass player knew him, and we just searched for someone back then with an ADAT, very hip technology back then, and he found this house, which wasn't his at the time, but we just went here, cleaned out a couple of cobwebs and pieces of wood, and recorded here.
There was no power supply and nothing, no lights, nothing. So we had to bring in everything for the first day. But it was a great atmosphere in that room. There was a lot of wood, it had a wood floor, there was everywhere was wood around. And in the end, it sounded great.
It was amazing, not only how the room sounded right away, but also later it became his studio and his working place. And so it's pretty much nothing ever changed for me since I started recording and then doing my solo stuff and my band stuff until now. It's been always this room. I think many drummers have this, that you have a certain sound. Maybe you can't control it at first, or you're not good at tuning, but then you find something that you're cool with, and then maybe you get very shocked when you record it. So how it sounds in the room or how it feels might have a very different how it then sounds on tape or on hard drive or whatever. And so that always baffled me.
Benny was always looking, or later on he always looked for somebody who's okay with stupid ideas and with stupid working space and times, like recording in stupid places, like on a mountain. And whenever he asked me something like, hey, what about recording in the forest? Can we do that? And I said, okay, I think it's crazy, but let's do it.
I always fooled around with cymbals. I grinded them and buried them in the garden and lit them on fire and put them in the oven. And some of the things didn't work, but some of them did. And then I was lucky enough that companies like Meinl and Sonor or Vic Firth helped me to put these ideas into real instruments, not just ugly kind of Frankenstein prototypes of mine. I mean, one thing that I get a lot of comments on is my 16-inch floor tom sound. Most cannot believe how deep I actually tune it, but that's one of those examples where I really want to get a certain sound, and then it's super hard to play and it doesn't feel nice, it doesn't have much rebound. I always tune for sound and not for feel. So I then have that in the tone that I want, and then I have to deal with it somehow technically. Another one is the side snare drum, which if you just take a head, turn it around, put it on there. I use my brass signature snare drum for this, and it's just it sounds like these programmed, it's almost like it doesn't sound like a real drum. It sounds very like electronic and fat, and usually people can't believe it. So that's the sound that I really love. And I really do always try to have the most natural but still powerful and full drum sound possible. One thing that many people do is to say if their cymbals very high, then the overheads become kind of cymbal mics, basically. So I think I kind of combined a couple of old school things. So I have my cymbals very low, like more a jazz drummer would have, but I tune very low, like more maybe a rock drummer would do. But that way, the overhead mics can be drum set mics, and you get a very, very natural kind of, you see it in the room almost, and you get a very balanced sound on the overheads already. So that was always a step-by-step process, and I always thought it would be that way. But I reached a point a couple of years ago where I'm like, nah, I'm actually very happy with this, and I don't have to think anymore, and I don't have this voice in my head anymore. It's like I found my sound over the years, and it's now a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share it with people in that way.
Yeah, I think drums are, besides the lead singer or the lead instrument, the drums are the most important thing on a recording. Because if the drummer is the whole recording will be rubbish. If the snare doesn't fit into a song, the song is not half as good. But it's much easier to get a good guitar sound going than to have a really good drum sound, because you need a good instrument, a good drummer. You need a lot more microphones than for guitars. You need all the cymbals fit together. You need a good room, and you need a good engineer, and a lot of time. A lot of people are looking for drum libraries or a good studio for drums, but the most of them going for drum libraries because they can't find an engineer or a good studio or the drummer for the sound they need.
It's very humbling to be asked to do something like this, and I was like, oh, great. And then it came to mind that electronic drums were always uninteresting to me, because whenever I checked the hi-hat, like, I realized I changed my motions, but the sound stays the same. So there were just not enough like layers, and I always was like, ah. So to have something not only with my sound, but just with very many dynamic layers, sounds very attractive to me. The second thing is, it's of course great. I have different bass drum sounds that we recorded with this. I have different snare drum sounds that we recorded with this. Sometimes it's just different dampening or different tuning, but sometimes it's really different gear, but it's still something, and it's still something to do. So if you now have a trigger on the bass drum or snare, or you can just play it on a keyboard and just change from one to the other sound, that's very tempting, and it's something that I look forward to.
Yeah, over all the years, there came up a lot of different ways of recording, and these two ways we recorded the overheads, like the AB and the Glyn Jones, these are typical for working with Benny. I almost never use the XY setting for Benny, because he always says, no, my set is getting too small. And he's always playing in trios, or he's doing the solo thing, so he wants to fill up the whole stereo image. And if you use XY, everything gets a little bit more focused in the center. And the reason to use that stupid against the wall facing SM7, whenever we did a live recording with the singer in the room, only for scratch vocals, and we listened back to the scratch material, we thought, wow, the drums sound really amazing. And as soon as we put away the singer's microphone, it sounded, oh, where's the snare? Because there's this mono focus in the center, and it's a little bit more far away, and it's always facing in the other direction, because you don't want to have the direct signal on the singer's microphone.
So to the recording of the sound library, I didn't just get stuff sent and like some rental drums or something. I brought my gear that I use for all my recordings, and it includes a couple of like rarities and little quirks and features. The ride cymbal that I play, I've been playing for almost a decade, and you know, these things change their sound and their feel over time. Like when they're new, they have a little bit other character. They need to be like worn down a little bit, and I like that a lot. It's the same with the shells themselves. Then I have a couple of things that are just not available. The 16-inch bass drum is a special thing that Sonor made for me. There is an 8-inch hat that is kind of a maybe prototype, or maybe will never come to light. But if you look at it like this, it might look like a small kit, but just the amount of tones and different sounds we got out of this, and the amount of dynamic level, I think will blow a couple of people away. So I think I'm a very dynamic drummer. I love playing very, very loud. I love playing very, very quiet, and I think it's this what is great on the drums, because it's the most, maybe the most dynamic instrument acoustically on the planet. And not only does the loudness of course change, but also the sound when you change the dynamic. And I always found it interesting to explore all these different sounds, but also from center to rim shot to clicking the edge of the shell, or doing ghost notes with your fingers. And I'm so excited that we managed to capture all of that, and we managed to, honestly, I was sitting there slouched over, doing the possibly quietest note I can physically do, and also doing the loudest note I can physically do, and then like dozens in between. So I'm very excited to kind of experience like how detailed this really is, and how like the variety of sounds that we really captured. So the most exciting for me will be hearing the sounds being used in other music styles, in things that I even couldn't imagine. The practical use, egoistically for me, will definitely be when I can now on a plane like make layouts and use these sounds to really give people an idea of like, look, I can with the keyboard, even with the keyboard on a laptop, now play these sounds in this kit and really get so close to this feel of and where I'm probably like, oh yeah, that's it. So that's just very, very practical. The other one that I'm really looking forward is to use it in terms to layer it. So if I have a bass drum like this with a lot of punch, to add a little bit more tone in there from the other bass drums. So these are things that were more complicated before, because I always did it analog, and to now have that in an easy to use, like wonderful program is luxury for me. But even more, it's a great feeling for me to have now kind of immortalized this sound in this room, and for me to use, or maybe even to layer it on top of sounds, or to use it for demos, and that's really a wonderful gift. But yeah, so it's the real deal. Hi, this is Benny Greb. Thanks for checking out my signature drum library. For more information, videos, sound clips, go over to getgooddrums.com.